You got to redefine success as something that's meaningful to you and then break it down into smaller components. How do I want to feel in my life? How do I want to live? Who do I want to become? Who am I meant to become? And what is my purpose? What do I value most? We need to have freedom to fail to be your best. And there needs to be an element of joy and excitement to be your best.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Duct Tape Marketing Podcast. This is John Jantz and my guest today is Jim Murphy. He's a high-performance coach, author, speaker, and the creator of the Inner Excellence Methodology. He's coached world-class athletes, Olympians, and business leaders, helping them achieve breakthrough results by mastering their inner game. His own journey from minor league baseball player to elite coach led him to develop a practical spiritual approach to peak performance that goes beyond tactics and into mindset, heart, and presence. We're going to talk about his book, Inner Excellence. Train your mind for extraordinary performance and the best possible life. So, Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John.
A few years ago, I had Captain Sullivan on the show. You may recall he is the airline pilot that landed his airplane after taking off in New York City in the Hudson River. Do you remember that? Sully, right. And then that turned it into a movie. Of course, he had a book. So I had to start that show, as he said, well, I have to tell that story, every time now I'm asked to talk about, how that went. So he certainly had the story down. Not nearly as dramatic, but you have a bit of an AJ Brown story. You want to, I'm sure people are asking you, and I'm sure you love telling it. You're probably getting tired of telling it, but you want to tell us kind of your kind of moment happened. Gosh, what was that now? 8-9 months ago.
Yeah, John, I'm very grateful to tell it. So on January 12th, AJ Brown he's a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a wild card game. Packers versus the Eagles. Sunday Night Football, the only NFL game on. And in the middle of the game, he's reading the football, reading Inner Excellence on the sidelines during the football game. And so the TV station zooms in on us, like, what is AJ Brown doing? And then, oh my gosh, he's reading a book. And Kevin Brown and Tom Burkhart made a big deal about it. Afterwards, they asked him, what were you doing? Were you bored? He said, no, it's a book that I read bring to every game, read it before the game to get centered and read it after every drive to get recentered. My teammates call it the recipe. And so that was the first time I actually heard about him doing this. I saw a picture of him on social media of like a month earlier, but I had no context. I didn't know anything about it. And so I found out with the rest of the world that he was doing this at that time. And just an amazing thing for him to do, to be true to himself, that find something that helps him be better at what he does and to be more fearless and show all of us that we all have time to read.
Well, and then of course the punchline, I suppose, what happened to you next?
Oh, a few things, John, a few things. Yeah, my world changed a lot. The message that selfless is fearless is, spread around the world now. Love, wisdom, and courage. So the book had sold maybe 7 or 8 or 9,000 copies in 16 years. And initially was published in 2009 by McGraw-Hill. And then I put out a revised edition, self-published in 2020. And then, so that's the book AJ Brown has been reading. And since then, it's sold, I don't know, close to 500,000 copies, I would say.
I'm curious, how did you print the books, without, that sort of immediate demand?
Yeah. So it's amazing how the world is now with Amazon.
Yeah.
And they print on demand. And so
but they were able to print on that kind of demand?
Well, apparently they did run out at some point. So they've got print centers all over the world. And so there was a time when the demand was so high, it sold tens of thousands of copies every day for the first few weeks, that they did run out at one point.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. Love to hear stories like that. A person's out there doing their work and, as a magical moment happen, I think we all deserve it. You start the book talking about your own struggles as a minor league player, the mindset, performance anxiety, self-doubt. Would you say that was instrumental to you developing kind of your own framework?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My whole life, since I was a little kid, I obsessed about being a superstar. I was going to play in the NFL like AJ Brown, or I was going to be in the NBA or Major League Baseball. And so when I got drafted by the Cubs, it was a dream come true. But I had a vision problem that was with me for my entire professional career. I played 5 years in the minors and then eventually had to retire because of it. And my identity was completely wrapped up in my role as a pro athlete. And when I lost it, I felt like I lost everything. And so I asked to coach a high school baseball team in inner city Seattle, and I had no interest in coaching. I took the job. I was driving a truck for FedEx, and we went undefeated. And I realized, wow, I love coaching. Who knew? And then, so I went on this journey to become a pro baseball coach. And I went to grad school, got a job with the Texas Rangers 2 weeks after graduation. So now I felt like I was somebody again. And then I quit 6 months into the first season. And so devastated again, my identity, I was somebody and I lost it. And then I was somebody again, and I lost it. And so I kind of got tired of this merry-go-round of feeling like I was someone and no one. And I ended up leaving for the desert to go live a life of solitude to figure out what to do with my life. And that's where Interactionalist was born. I spent 5 years full-time writing and researching how to have peace and confidence under the most pressure. And what I found, John, was that the path to having the most peace and confidence under the most pressure is the same path of building an extraordinary life when filled with deep contentment, joy, and confidence, independent of circumstance. It's a wholehearted path where you understand what the human heart deeply needs and wants and how to get it.
So you started touching on this idea of your identity, and you spend a lot of time, or one of the core principles really is kind of this idea of letting go of the need to control the outcome, which is, being very attached to the outcome. Do you have a client story, executive athlete? I suppose you don't want to name names, but where, you help somebody kind of overcome that control of the outcome?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I was at the Ryder Cup years ago, it's one of the biggest events in golf, pro golf. Right. You have it's Team USA versus Team Europe. And one of the players, top 10 in the world, said, Jim, I'm too attached to the results of my performance. I get 2 tenths. What can I do? And I said, well, imagine there's a little kid who loves lollipops and he's got a lollipop and you want to take it from him, but you don't want to struggle. Is there any way you could get him to give you the lollipop by volunteering it to give it to you? And he said, I don't know. And I said, well, what if you had a bigger lollipop and asked him to trade? And he said, oh, he'd probably trade. What kid wouldn't trade a small lollipop for a bigger one? I said, that's what you need. Your lollipop is too small. Your lollipop is, I just want to get birdies and I want to win the tournament and I want to be successful. I want to get some tangible results. That's way too small. First of all, you don't even know if that's good for you to get birdies and good results and have more success. Is that going to be good for you in the long run and your family? You don't know. What you need is to pursue fullness of life and develop yourself in that way, which we know is good for you, where you feel fully alive, and make that your pursuit. Go for the whole candy store. Don't settle for these tangible things that you don't even know if will make you happy, let alone fulfilled.
You talk a lot about fear. You identify a number of them. One of them, which is true, I don't care what you're doing. Fear of failure shows up in a lot of people's lives when they pursue anything. I'm curious. I'm a huge baseball fan. That's my sport. And, it's very cliche to say, but I'll say it anyway. The best baseball players fail 70% of the time, right? In the hitting world. So how do they get through that? And, that idea of I'm afraid to fail, but, and what's weird about it is 20 hits in a season might make the difference between being seen as a failure or being seen as a superstar. So, how did you see baseball players in particular? This would apply to all athletes, I suppose, but I feel like baseball has more failure in it than any other sport. So, how do they deal with that?
You got to redefine success as something that's meaningful to you,
right? And
then break it down into smaller components. Specifically, how do I want to feel in my life? How do I want to live? Who do I want to become? Who am I meant to become? And what is my purpose? What do I value most? If you're not clear on those things, then the default is, I just need more success. I need more base hits. Mm-hmm. But that's too far out of your control. It's just, you're just happy if you get a hit, sad if you don't, and stressed when you need it. And you're never going to be your best when you're stressed.
Yeah.
We need to have freedom to fail to be your best. There needs to be an element of joy and excitement to be your best. And in order to have that joy and excitement, we need to focus on the reason why you want the base hit. Why do you want the base hit? Well, so I can have a good batting average. Why do I want that? So I can become an all-star. Why do you want that? So I can make more money. Why do you want that? Well, I want a great life, really. I want a more comfortable life. Well, what is it that you really want? Is it just a $10 million house on the water? Is that what you want? Or is it what you think that will give you, which is great experiences and deep, enriching relationships where you're learning and growing and making a difference? where you feel fully alive. Well, is that okay, that's what you want? Well, I'm going to show you how to go for that directly and let everything else be added to you.
We have been talking mostly about athletes, but you coach a lot of business leaders who are certainly not performing in the same way. Is it any different, or is it really basically get down to the same bottom line?
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
I don't teach people what to do, how to do their job. Unless it's pro baseball, I might add couple things there, but it doesn't matter if you're a CEO of Google or you're a pro athlete or Olympic swimmer or anybody. It's really, how do you be fully engaged in the moment when you're performing, unattached to what you're trying to do? How can you expand what you believe is possible? How can you perform with freedom and passion, unattached to what you're trying to do? And that's everything I'm telling you about. It's really clarifying these things that are most meaningful to you and pursuing them.
So athletes today, I mean, obviously they've trained their body. I mean, that's what comes with the deal. Increasingly, you're seeing sports psychologists, you're actually seeing people in the dugout that are, mindset related. Business owners don't necessarily, well, a lot of them don't train their body like an athlete, even though they need to perform, but they certainly don't have the same idea of training their mind. Are there I know there are exercises in your system. You want to talk a little bit about ones that are really geared towards entrepreneurs, or even, I have a lot of marketers on this show that would help them train their mind.
Yeah, well, with Inner Excellence, the number one goal every day is to learn and grow. If you want to be great at business, we need to be creative. We can't be attached to the results and circumstances. We need to think clearly. We have to have a clear mind and unburdened heart if you want to be great at anything, business included. We can't be caught up in the past and future. And so learn and grow every day is the number one goal. And then within that, we have 4 daily goals. Give the best of what you have. Some days it's not going to be good. Be present, be grateful, focus on your routines and only what you can control.
You talk openly about the spiritual elements of what you teach, presence, gratitude, acceptance, in addition to like performance metrics. Do you ever, especially with business leaders, do you ever get any skepticism, pushback that, hey, I just give me the tools, give me I don't need that stuff?
Yeah. Pro athletes, business leaders. Yeah, definitely. If you're a high achiever, then you don't want the woo. You want tangible results. You don't want to mess around. You don't want to waste your time. And I get it. The question is, if something is really important to you, if this is the biggest year of your career, maybe you're a free agent, or maybe you have a massive deal you're working on, or just trying to get a job and you need the money, the more important it is to you, then the more important the process of how you live and what you do every day is, then it's more important. So the question is, what's the best process for you to be your best every day? And that's what Inner Excellence is I present to you. What I've learned is the best process for the majority of people to be fully engaged in the moment, heart, mind, and body, unattached to what they're trying to do.
You talk about in the book embracing vulnerability and even failure in some cases. You want to talk a little bit about whether it's on your own personal life or with the client, where embracing that imperfection has kind of led to a breakthrough?
Yeah, I define humility as an accurate view of self, not overinflated and not underinflated. And so pro athletes and most people, they come to me because they're underperforming. And essentially, they come to me they're obsessing about things that they want and can't control. And then they just try harder. And then the trying harder causes them to be more tense, more anxious, and worse performance. And so then that causes more stress. And then they feel like they need to become more needy. And so it's just this endless loop. And so essentially, they're coming to me for low level needs and desires. Become world number one. Be the best in the industry. That's a low level need. I call it low level because you don't even know if it's good for you, let alone going to make you happy. Say you got 1 million followers or $10 million or a $10 million house on the water. Is that going to make you happy? You might think so, and hopefully, but it may not. And so, but that's what people come to me because I've helped people achieve extraordinary success. Generally, most people, their first year together, they have the best year of their careers. It's because we focus on developing themselves as people, getting inner strength and inner peace, let everything else be added to them. So this is the crucial thing.
How do you balance, the fact that, especially in the field that you're working with, I mean, that people are taught their entire lives to strive for excellence, to hustle, to work harder, to outwork everybody else. I mean, how do you balance that? Because you're not, they obviously have to have the skills, they have to put in the work, but you're telling them something completely different than what society is probably pumping in.
Yeah, society says the only thing that matters is the results. Bottom line, black and white, zero sum score. Like it's either win or lose. There's only so many pieces to the pie. And I'm saying we live in an unstable, unfair world that has a lot of horrible things in it. And if you don't have a clear system, you're going to get sucked into negativity. And because of all the instability and even evil and violence. So we need to have a clear system to make sure we're focusing on who you can become and what's possible in your life. And so inner excellence is about developing the habits of thought and action every day where you can be fully engaged in the moment more often, unattached to the results of what you're trying to do. And we do that by training your heart to love most what's most empowering.
I'm guessing a fair amount of the people you work with need to strip some stuff away, because they come to you with being full on doing. What's kind of the first step to get somebody to shift their mindset from that, away from doing and more towards, I guess you would call it, being?
How they speak. The first thing we do is we make sure that we're speaking the truth. Inner excellence has 9 disciplines, and one of the disciplines is to speak the truth about the past to create possibilities in the future. So people come to me and they want to perform better. So they often will talk to me about how they're struggling with something. But the thing is, your subconscious is what's running your life and creating these beliefs that are limitations on what's possible. It's really hard to outperform your beliefs, the subconscious comfort level with what you feel is possible in your life. And so inner excellence is largely about expanding what you believe is possible by getting yourself to see possibilities and feel it as if it's real. And so we need to be able to come to the edge of our feelings and beliefs and not resist those moments where we're super uncomfortable.
Because your work went from, being exposed to X amount of people to, a much larger X, has that changed? Just because I'm guessing you're getting a lot more feedback, you have more people reaching out to you saying, "Hey, I want a piece of you." Has that changed? Not you, but has that changed anything? How you think about your system, how you think about the work, or is it only validated it?
Oh yeah, it's changed a lot. My life has changed a lot. I think of what if I would have died January 11th or before. The majority of the things in the book that I wrote 16 years ago are the same.
Right. Uh-huh.
And it was selling 1 to 2 copies a day before January 12th. And then, now it's like I said, it's going to be in 26 or 27 languages and it's sold 500,000 copies or whatever. What's changed is definitely more confidence in the message. Like in the past, I believed in the message for sure, but there's always a wonder, like, why isn't the book more popular? Yeah. I didn't understand it. And so now it's just that's really cool. But I don't think of myself as the originator of this or even author. I'm just a lowly messenger. And so because it's so extraordinary, everything that's happened, there's no way that I could say, "Oh, I did this." And so the moment we start to think that I'm doing it and that I'm somebody because I'm doing these great things, then we start to get afraid of, well, what if I make mistakes? But when you can take yourself completely out of the picture, there's no concern for self, then you can be fearless. And God's given me this gift that I realize, at the very most, I've added maybe 1 or 2% to anything good that's happened in the last 6 months. And since I know that, there's no like, "Oh, I'm somebody now." I know I'm nobody.
Well, Jim, I appreciate you taking a moment to share with our listeners. Is there some place you would invite people to connect with you? Obviously, the book's available everywhere, but if people want to learn more about your coaching or just really, explore anything deeper from the book.
Yeah, I would go to innerexcellence.com and sign up for the newsletter. We have a VIP newsletter that talks about our retreats and workshops. We've got a retreat coming up in Mexico here very soon. And then social media, Instagram, Inner Excellence Jim Murphy, and other social media outlets, you'll find me. Thanks so much, John.